Hello, folks, and welcome back again to Ask the Expert. We always describe experts as people whose expertise is based on what they've done and not just what they've read. I'm excited because today we have someone who has done it and read about it and written about it. So we've got the whole package of expertise. I'm grateful for your engagement. Thank you for being a part of this Ask the Expert series, and thank you for your email. Don't forget, you can like and share and comment on our social media platforms, dfree.com, dfreemovement. These are our brand names. And also don't forget, we have a foundation that will take you through a 12-step process to begin building towards financial freedom. And we know that freedom is not only something granted from the outside, but freedom really starts on the inside. And that's why I'm so thrilled to have our guest today, as thrilled as I am to have our co-host. She's really the host. She defers to me because I'm old. But the truth of the matter is, Brittany Smallwood is the actual host. I am the co-host, but she was raised to respect her elders, so she kind of defers to me. But Brittany, thank you for what you do and for being here. And I'm so excited about our guest that I'm going to ask you to introduce her, because you come with a level of professionalism that I just don't have. So if you introduce the guest and get the conversation started, we will have our next Ask the Expert sharing.
Yes. Well, Dr. Storage, you're always amazing. So you're just so kind. Today, our guest is Dr. Lanisha Adams, and she is amazing. She is an Ivy League educated linguist and the founder of an award-winning education consultancy called EdLinguist Solutions. And she is also the award-winning author of a book called Me Power. And what is so amazing about her and her story is how she overcame going through COVID, going through cardiac arrest, and completed her book. So Dr. Adams, it is such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. An honor to be here with you both.
It is an honor to have you with us. Do you mind describing, like walking us through what it was like for you when you had COVID?
Yeah, I'm coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the cardiac arrest in a few days. Today's my husband's birthday, and I got COVID at the beginning of the year. I'll back up and say that I have 2 small children. They're 2.5 and 4.5, 2 sons. And so they, I had my baby Donnie during the pandemic in June 2020. And we were on lockdown, like just totally everything shut down, and very secure. I never went to the grocery store. I delivered everything. My husband would go out. We had like this whole, just think the pandemic is here, the sky is falling, everything's going to come crashing down. We were those people. And I was very reticent on doing the childcare thing. So I just had them with me until I got this huge contract with the National Science Foundation. And I couldn't, it was just not tenable to have screaming kids in the background during these meetings. And it was hard. It became harder to concentrate, and nobody else that I was working with had that kind of lifestyle. So it was not acceptable to roll like that. So I had to get childcare. So in 2021, in late spring, I was able to find childcare, and it was beautiful. You know, we knew the families, the parents, everybody worked from home, and we were all pretty safe. It was only when the childcare provider opened it up in December 2021 to let new families in, and she allowed one person to come who was part-time. And so who knows what that family was doing. Anyway, we got COVID, and the whole family. So the kids got it, and then we got it. And I was really sick, you know, and I prior to that hadn't gotten sick very often. I think there's like this mom immunity that happens when you're taking care of these sick kids, and then, you know, they're always with their germs, and you're kind of combating all that. And I was under the bed, and my husband was like, you know, you just keep sleeping, drink water and sleep, drink water and sleep. So that happened for 2 weeks. I didn't have sense of taste or smell. The kids would come in, and I think they would jump on the bed, but I was very delirious. I came to learn that I had COVID pneumonia, but I didn't know. So after 2 weeks of feeling really, I was under the bed, I started feeling better. And then it was DC restaurant week, and we went out because we were asymptomatic. And I think, this day, the 29th of January, 2022, I was like, man, this is the best day ever. And I really felt, I just felt so great because I could smell and taste after not being like that since the beginning of the year. Later that day, I came home, started watching something because I was really stressed out about the book, and I had to make a choice about these next set of deadlines and then what the dates were. And my editor was hounding me. And so I said, I'm just going to take a load off. Today's such a beautiful day. Let me Netflix and chill real quick. And I turned on the TV and I closed my eyes, and I woke up in the ICU. And that's I think that experience categorically changed my life.
Wow. Right. And you went through cardiac arrest, and what was the medical solution that they came up with afterwards for you?
Yeah, so when I woke up, so I was in a coma for a week. I was in ICU for 2 weeks. And it was very dire because when I was home actually alone with the kids. So my husband went to get pizza. When DC teams win, they have a half off special. So he went to go get some pizza for the kids and for us. And it's around the corner, from our house, this pizza spot. And I was with my son, who my youngest was taking a nap in his crib. And then my oldest was by me. We were together. And my husband came home and he found me non-responsive. Now, he didn't notice right away. I think he went to put the pizza in the kitchen and came back, he says, and then he started CPR right away. He's certified CPR, so he can do that. He calls 911. Now, this man, I love my husband, put him on blast for a minute. He is one of the most indecisive people I've ever met in my life. Like, I'm not even kidding. You ask him, what do you want for dinner? He comes up with like 10 options and he can't decide. For this man to take quick action, I asked him, how did you move so quickly? And he said, you can't leave me with these kids. This is what he started thinking about immediately. And so it's kind of like our laughing. It's a funny kind of laughing joke that we have. But he performed CPR, called the ambulance. They came, they responded within 10 minutes. And I think they worked on me for half an hour. We have a nosy neighbor, and she found me in the hospital, called the room and all this, and told me that they were outside. The ambulance was outside for half an hour, and then they drove away with the lights out. So she was very worried and concerned. So it took a while for me to come to, but the solution for them. So once I was able to come to, I had to be intubated and all of this while in the hospital. And because I had the COVID pneumonia, my cardiologist now thinks that that's the reason why I had my systems were just overloaded. And that's why I had the cardiac arrest. There was no underlying health condition that I had that contributed to it. There's no genetic cause for it. I have what's called dilated cardiomyopathy, which means I have an enlarged heart and it doesn't pump blood as well as it should. I'm stage 2 cardiac heart failure. So I'm still like choking over the words sometimes to get all this medical terms. But heart failure, you can have heart failure from a number of things. And I'm heavily medicated to help my systems regulate and pump blood throughout my body. By the grace of God, I'm here to talk to you and to have the capacity and intellectual capacity after half an hour, no oxygen to the brain. That's kind of like, that doesn't happen and without, severe damage. And I do brain scans regularly. I don't have anything to date. And I'm praying to stay like that for now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah.
No, it puts everything into perspective, because the amazing thing is, so you went through this there are really no words for it, life-altering experience. And you emerged to be able to find the strength to not only recover, take care of your family, but yet also write this book that is designed to empower others to use their own power. How did you instinctively tap into your own power? Because your book is called Me Power. As you were going through the situation, how did you use that to help you finish this book in the midst of all of this? I mean, that was a lot. That was amazing.
Yeah, it is kind of a lot. I think about I like to focus on the me part, because if you don't start with yourself, I don't know what we do, how we're going to navigate through life well. So the idea of me power is really, it's this idea of knowledge of self, and you taking principled action to benefit your life and the life of those around you. So it's all about positivity. It's not about power over other people and doing things that are going to take away someone else's humanity. And I think about tapping into that source deep within myself of who am I now? I mean, I had to answer that question when I first woke up in the hospital. They, had to put restraints. I'm kind of, I had never been in the hospital. I'd only gone in there to have babies. And so can you imagine, I was watching Netflix and I woke up and I'm I had the tubes and I didn't know where I was like, you got to get me out of here. I got to get out of here. And when the doctors came to talk to me, they said, ma'am, we have to restrain you, but we will let you loose if you stop. And I said, the only way I'm going to stop is if I can get out of here. Where are my kids? And I got this book deadline I have to get done. Those are literally the words that I'm very determined to focus on this. And the doctors and nurses and everybody in there were looking at me like I had 10 heads. They were like, man, this lady, she really strong. I don't know what would have happened if I tried to jump out of the bed. Obviously, that was not going to work. Your whole body shuts down. You're not going anywhere. And so I just think about how I'm driven by this mission of my grandfather always said to me, you do what you say. If you say you're going to do something, you make sure you see it through and do it. And so I feel like my roles as a mother and a wife, and then to contract with this book, the publisher, I felt like those were my primary missions in life, And I think it's important as we're talking about being driven and really going after what we hope and dream, right? I'm not sitting around waiting. In fact, now I have this intenser sense of urgency, but I feel like we really have to pause sometimes. I think we have to slow down in order to speed up. And that experience really, more than anything, that's what I learned from it, because I was it was too much. I was doing too much. And I feel like when you're ambitious and you're trying to do too much, there's not a lot of space or room to take pauses and still keep going. I mean, I was thinking, if you take a pause, if I stop, then that means it all shuts down. And that didn't happen. It's totally
not only do we have to pause, but sometimes we literally have to go backwards. We have to take 2 or 3 steps back, because when you have, like I did, I had COVID and I was like you, I was in the room for a month and I had deadlines, I had things to do. And even after a month, I was still weak for 4 more months. And I tried to get up and I tried to preach and it just kept pulling me back. And you just have to know, you either have to pause or life will pause you if you don't have sense enough to pause yourself. And, it translates into the same principles we teach around money. I mean, what we want for people is not to manage money, but to manage their lives and then use money strategically to reach their life goals. I mean, having money is not a goal. Money is a tool to help you reach your goals. Mm-hmm. And that's why your book is so important, I believe, because understanding what you have over and against what you don't have. We have this narrative in our community that specializes in reminding us of what we don't have and why we don't have it and how long it's been that we haven't had it. But you come along and say, okay, I acknowledge all of that. But after you make your list of the things that you don't have, there's another list that you need to make of the things you do have, the power you have, the knowledge you have, the relationships you have, the potential you have, and by the way, the future that you have. And it's that discovery that creates freedom on the inside, even when you're waiting for certain levels of freedom on the outside. Just wonderful. You're a prophet, Dr. Adams.
Wow, those are powerful words.
Yeah, you're a prophet. This is great. So the book came out in September, and of course, we have kind of wiggled our way out of the COVID season, and so really this month is the beginning of the post-COVID season for me, at least. And your book can be bought everywhere, right? Amazon, bookstores. And what's the main takeaway you want from a person having read your book?
I want people to shift their thinking about empower, this word that's a transitive verb that means that you give your authority or power away. You know, you're waiting for somebody to give it to you. For us to shift our thinking about that to me power. And that's really the main takeaway, because when we do that, we become the active agents that create the change we want to see. And inherent in the traditional definitions of the word, studied linguistics, so I kind of went off on the deep end on that. But inherent in those traditional definitions is this idea that someone else will quote unquote empower you. Right. But empowerment is not something we receive like a gift. It's not something that we do it like as a thing. It's a process in which we engage. So I want people to take away that me power challenges this notion that we need to be empowered by other people. And me power must be constructed from within. And I love what you said about freedom and our quest for it.
Wonderful. Brittany, you know, I keep getting inspired, encouraged, and also intimidated by these absolutely brilliant people that the world needs to see and hear and know. And so, Dr. Adams, I want to thank you for your willingness to spend time with us and assure you that we're going to do everything we can to promote your message and your products and your persona, because it's an absolute corollary to what we're teaching about money. I'm not a financial expert. Brittany's not a financial expert. Our mission includes connecting people to persons like yourselves as resources, so they can use those principles to empower themselves and not wait for external empowerment. This is just wonderful. Brittany, I'm sorry. I told you that I'd let you ask all of your prescribed questions.
No, this is great. You're doing great, because you really brought us to the next point, because you're saying it's important for people, really all of us, to assess our finances and to be able to make the decisions we need to make in order to use it as a tool properly. So Dr. Adams, with your book, Me Power, what are perhaps maybe 3 tangible steps or tips for people to use in order to tap into their own power?
Absolutely. So the Me Power, I talk about it as knowledge of self and principle action in 5 key ways, right? So you embrace your barriers, focus on your strengths, speak for your life, choose your guides, and ritualize your reflection. And each of these principles have practices associated with them. The one I like to focus on a lot is your strengths, because I think a lot of times we circle the bend a little bit. We think about who we are in terms of our roles, right? If I only thought in terms of my role, then I would show up with a different energy. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a this, I'm a that. That's not who I am, you know, like there's so much more to—
Yeah, there's a difference between who you are and what you do.
That's absolutely right. And so who are you? Who are you, and what strengths do you bring to the presence of who you are? And that is felt by other people. So if you can't really see yourself, then there are some assessments to really help you do that. And so one of the first things is there's 2 that I want to talk about right now. One is the values and action assessment. And it really you can take it every 6 months. It's free. It's available on my website. It rank orders what your strengths are as you're living them. And it's the values that you have in action. So what are you emitting out? One of my top values in action is humor, because I subscribe to the idea of you got to laugh to keep from crying. And sometimes, I mean, especially with all the stuff I'm dealing with, you really do, because you're like, there's so many things that are unknown, and that can really eat at you if you go to the other side of that. And so I use humor, which is one of my strengths, to really help me navigate that. And so I have a bunch of other strengths. We all do, but it's nice to see a ton of research behind it. Martin Seligman, he's been named the father of positive psychology. But before that, he's a researcher who did a ton of research, and it's international. So this survey, it really is nice to see, how do I rank? You know, it might give you some insight into how you are at this moment. And then my second favorite way to focus on your strengths as a practice is to ask others that know you really well. And so there's this really cool 5-question kind of survey that I designed to send out to folks that know you, and then they fill it out. And it's a nice bump. You know, it's interesting. We don't think about what we have internally that's really motivating, driving us, powering us. And I think I'm a critical thinker. And I think most of us, we like to lean more on the negative side. We think, what don't I have? What else do I need to learn? How else can I improve? How often do you sit there and think, I have these strengths. This is how I'm going to use this strength to power through. So I think focusing on your strength is a very powerful aspect of empowerment and me power. And using tools like that is one way to help. My next one that's really cool is to speak for your life. That's one of the principles of me power. And you can do that by identifying the weirdest thing about you, an unusual skill or talent nobody else has, right? But that might also benefit somebody else. And then you share it in only a way that you can. And one example of that for me personally was, I love reading, and one of my favorite things to do is read articles, talk about it, or incite like an argument or a debate, like take the alternate side, because I think that's exciting. And it also shows, like, can I actually adopt a thought that I don't believe in? Right. So I did that with a friend, Bianca Jackson, with this Black LinkedIn is Thriving New York Times article. I read it right after it came out. I sent it to her. She was doing all this stuff on Black LinkedIn or on LinkedIn. And I was like, is there Black LinkedIn? Black LinkedIn is not a thing. And then we started having a debate. And then she said, we should go on Clubhouse and talk about it. And I said, okay, great. So you open a room on Clubhouse, this audio only app. We started talking about it. Man, everybody starts coming in there because Black LinkedIn is thriving. Like, what is that? And what are you guys talking about? Turns out we attracted all the people featured in the article, and then the journalist Ashanti Martin, who wrote the article, and then a bunch of other folks, and Martin Pratt, one of the co-founders of this club and community, and that we started that in December 2020. So it's just amazing. Like, I took something that I don't really have a lot of people that are friends that want to sit there and talk about articles all the time. Your friends, you want to talk about life and other things. And it was just so beautiful to find a way to take the themes from that article and really relate it to our identity as Black people and talk about that and build something from it. Something I would have never imagined in a million years. And then I think about that, right? I spoke for my life. I really needed that community. I was surrounded only by children and then people on Zoom. Mm-hmm. And I really needed to connect with people without, not moving in the world. So this practice of really using the aspects of empowerment that are very principled in nature, and then taking actions in ways that are unique to you, is how you activate that more. I talk about it as like a me power activation. So yeah. I hope I answered your question.
Well, and what I love about this, I know we're pretty much out of time, but what I love about this, again, is that our spending habits are often reflections of our lack of identity. And what I discovered, when I was younger, I would drive brand new cars that cost too much money. Now that I'm older, I buy used cars that are paid for. And it's not a matter of income, because I make much more money now than I did then. But it's a matter of my self-understanding. I understand enough about myself to know that I'm all right without a shiny new luxury car. Principles. And folks, that's why I want you to understand the relationship between a guest like Dr. Adams and a book like Me Power and the D-Free movement, because at the end of the day, we are lured into spending habits that address our emotional and psychological needs as we perceive them. And the more we get involved in Me Power, the more we can follow that script, as it were, that model that Dr. Adams has constructed, the more we will find ourselves not needing to use money for things like shopping therapy or status or significance. This is remarkable, and I'm just so happy that you're here. I'm so thrilled. I thank God that you survived both COVID, long COVID, and the heart problem that was induced by pneumonia and COVID at the same time. And I pray that you will stay close, because we need experts like yourself who are both practitioners and scholars who bring to bear on a financial movement the prescription of self-discovery and of emotional wellness and of the need to pause as being a part of our financial journey. It's just wonderful. So thank you. Thank you, Brittany, for your well-organized questions. And thanks to Marty Pratt, who is behind the scenes, for pulling all of this together. And you'll hear from us again, for sure. Let us know how we can help your work too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'll be sending you a signed copy of the book. So thank you.
All right. You can go to Dr. Adams' website. What's the website, Dr. Adams?
Lanisha.com, Lanisha.
Lanisha.com. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Listen, till next time, folks, get the book, develop your power, and get ready for the next episode of Ask the Expert. God bless.